Hey, welcome back to the PowderKeg Podcast, your ultimate destination for all things Los Angeles Chargers. I'm Kyle Deedham DeCantano, as always, joined by Ryan. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm ecstatic. It's been 6 days. I've been on cloud nine. I mean, recording on a Thursday, although it's so long after a Friday. I'm just excited, man. Oh, what a way to kick off the season, man.
I hear you, man. It's tough for us to wait this long, but it's just what works for Ryan and I's schedule. And when you got one guy all the way in England and you got one guy on the West Coast, it is really hard to bridge those gaps. So I got nap time over here. Ryan's got a little bit of evening time in his time zone. So this is what we can make work, but it gives us a good chance to get enough time to review the game and then get ready to preview. So, man, 27-21, Ryan, Brazil prime time, going up against Patrick Mahomes. We walk out with a win. How do you feel about starting off 1-0?
I mean, it's not just the 1-0, it's a statement win against, we got the monkey off our back. It's against someone we've struggled against the perennial division winners. Uh, it wasn't just a win, it was a dominant win as well. But people might say, oh, the game, they were still in the fourth quarter. They led pillar to post. You don't get that by fluke. It was clean. It was brilliant on both sides of the ball. It was disciplined. It felt different. It just felt different. Yeah. What more can you say?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, a lot of people were saying that they didn't have the sense of impending doom that they usually have. I still have that. I'm a little too scarred, I think. I was watching the game. I was out on a date with my wife, and she was amazing in that she let us have the game on in the background. So I was that typical guy you see in commercials or sitcoms where it's like, yep, yep, and just tuning in right around the shoulder. But it was even just from that view, maybe I didn't get to see enough of it, live, but I was not feeling set until Herbie made that final slide. I was like, man, I can't believe it. Here we are. But hey, we got a lot to unpack. We got Minter's defense, Roman's offense. We're going to talk about Quentin Johnston, Najee, and the offensive line, and then we'll spin it forward to previewing Monday night.
Awesome, man. Let's dig into it. Let's go. Buckle up, both of them. Let's dive in.
Right on, man. Well, let's start on defense. Minter's group looked like they were playing complementary football, is how you described it when we were talking before, Ryan. They were playing pretty safe, sound, and defending their lead. What does that mean exactly? What did you see out of them?
I mean, they didn't have to chase the game at any point. Like I said, it was a clean look. We got 3 and out on the first drive through just fundamentally sound defense, and that's the theme that continued throughout the game. We never had to attack. When they built a little bit of momentum, thanks to some scheme changes that he matched to what Minter was doing. The one thing that sticks out for me is Minter was slanting both of his defensive linemen towards where away from, with their hips away from where the back was, and then Reed did a pop from a pistol one where he delayed the handoff and they beat it, and then Minter went, okay, I'm gonna have to change it up again. But that's a good DC. He stays on top of it, but he doesn't panic his players. He didn't go, oh my god, I don't know what to do, let's blitz. I mean, I went into it saying we should blitz because it makes Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable. Mahomes looked uncomfortable. I don't know if you think the same, man.
Felt like a lot of their big chunk plays were him doing what he does, right? I mean, we can't say that it's fluky because it's what makes Mahomes special, but he did
Absolutely.
extend some plays. He did get a crazy shovel pass off. But overall, like you said, the tone of the game, we felt like we were shutting down the run, just like we should. Derwin was freed up to play Kelsey a lot, like we had discussed. He might be with having that 3 safety set is amazing for this defense with the personnel we have. What did you see up front with our defensive line? I know losing Puna Ford was a concern, but we've got this guy, Caldwell, that you and I are raving about. And we were talking before the season started about just the depth that this line had. So overall, how did you feel they did with controlling the line of scrimmage and throwing Mahomes off balance, like we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they didn't do it by overly pursuing in any direction, and I was surprised by it. They only went into an odd front when they were faced with 22 personnel or 21 personnel. When the Chiefs went heavy, we matched that. That was the only time. Other than that, we're in a base for even front, and we just played gap sound. And I thought Tart was fantastic. Like Kelsey Slapper aside, even his bat downs aside, I thought he played really well. He did what he did best. He penetrated the backside of the gaps. He shut down run lanes. Mac was fantastic in the run game, as he always is. Thule too. The linebackers were always in a good position. The worst thing, I can't sit here and still think of a standout on defense, which is a fantastic place to be. We didn't have to have someone like who was lights out, so he beat them. We beat them as a team, and that's so important in games like this.
Social media was blowing up as well, Ryan, because Joey Bosa had a really quiet game to start with the Bills. A lot of people were saying he was absent. Then he did come alive a little bit. I think he got one sack at least and had a little bit more of a presence later in the game. When you were watching the defense, I know I'm not talking about peak Bosa, of course, because peak Bosa was, elite. But do you think that Bosa, the version that we've had of the last couple of years, was he really missed on Friday? Or has this defense really turned the corner without that leader in the room?
I mean, I don't think they missed him because, like I said, for the last couple of years, even when he's been on the field, even when he's been his peak health, he's not been an effective pass rusher. He's been an okay run defender. He's improved in that regard, mainly because he's just got no other option but to be one. But I don't think we missed him. Even though the pass rush wasn't great, I don't think he would have added to it, especially as though we wouldn't have been able to afford players in other areas. So his roster spot would have taken the roster spot of someone else. Caleb Murphy had one really beautiful pass rush. A great move late in the game. I think he's going to get more shots as the DPR. I am surprised by the high snap count of Bud Dupree. I think he even may have outsnapped Thule. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it was a genuinely three-way rotation between them. I think that's keeping them fresh for later in the season. However, I would also be concerned with that a little bit. So
what way, right? Build on that a little bit.
He offers nothing as a pass rusher. There was a play where Minter pulled out a really tricky coverage. I couldn't even tell you what it was. Like, it's not like he rotated a lot. It was just the guys were in certain positions. We had an underhanging safety underneath the corner who had rotated over, and he was literally facing away from the ball, just waiting for the first guy to come back. And Mahomes was even about, what the hell? Started dancing around. Buzz he had like 6-7 seconds, and I don't think he moved off the spot. So I don't mind him as a player because I think he plays fundamentally sound. He's smart. He broke up that screen really smartly, but he offers zero as a pass rusher. And to have him on the field that often means that we're just essentially saying we're not going to get a pass rush from this position. So I would like to see a little bit more flexibility in terms of letting Thule rush a pass more, especially now he's playing on special teams less. These are the things that you grow into a season, and it's great to say this with a win in our books and a fantastic performance overall. Should we hit the offense now? Or?
Yeah. And we have some young edge rushers, so hopefully they develop, right? But hey, yeah, let's flip to the offense with Greg Roman and his scheming and game planning. A lot of fans were really giving him his flowers and saying that it looks like he's grown. In fact, some stuff has been posted. I think it was Daniel Popper in The Athletic was mentioning that Greg had gone and visited Justin Herbert in Oregon this summer and brought a bunch of tape and was trying to encourage him like, hey, use your legs, go ahead and run. We weren't able to do this last year because of your the injuries we were having with your foot and then your ankle. So now let's go ahead and let's let the beast out a little bit. Let's see what you can do. What did you see? What surprised you? What do you think the big difference was with this offense really churning?
Well, first of all, I always love the image that Greg Roman genuinely bought a box full of reels for his old film camera all the way to Oregon in the boot of his car. I quite like that image. But I thought two things with this, and I said to you before we started, and you found it quite surprising. Greg Roman didn't do anything new. It was all exactly what he's done before, just with better execution and slight, small detail changes. The change has been through his personnel, how they were achieving what they wanted to achieve, and the partnerships between all the receivers. So it wasn't just because last season I've said a few times that I quite enjoyed whenever we put QJ and Ladd in a stack with each other. I felt defenses didn't really knew how to play them because, believe it or not, QJ has an actually okay release package. He's not Keenan, he's not Ladd, but it's okay, and it does enough to fool people at the line when you're interplaying with the guy next to you. Now we have QJ and Ladd, who are not only good but also established together. They understand each other. Then you've got Keenan and Ladd, who were just watching that play to the corner. People are, was a busted coverage. It wasn't. It was because of Ladd's footwork. Like there, he stacked, then went out, and he made that defender think, oh, I've got to carry him vertical. It was wonderful to see. And then there's a few clips of QJ and Keenan as well being really good. And then even Tyler Conklin played into that, and Amari and Hampton played into that. So those things overall means you're executing better. And those 2 and 3 man split field concepts, plus Roman was crossing the middle of the field. Hallelujah. He was crossing over the hash marks with multiple receivers, not just on play action either. And it made it wonderful to see. But these are all in his playbook. I've said many times, I've got a copy of his 2014 playbook. And usually with coaches, you got a copy of their 2014 playbook, you got nothing. Yeah, with Greg Roman, I've got most of his plays. Which is readily available on the internet, by the way. I did not get this from a coach. So anyone can have that.
They get about things.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter because it's working. It's also 788 pages long. So he didn't get to implement that properly in the first season. Yeah. Or at least he did minute parts of it. That's growing day by day, week by week. You see, he's in constant install mode, which sounds scary because also we won 11 games in install mode. So overall, this is just to say that a lot of it was the same. It was just better details from a play execution standpoint and also from Greg Roman. The best thing though was his play calling. So I mean, you must have seen like how strong plays together. Like even watching on the broadcast over Zayna's shoulder, you must have thought, okay, yeah, he's really rolling here.
It was great to see him lean on the pass and pass in those those intermediate zones where Keenan and Ladd can just absolutely thrive. And also as you said, the roles with the receivers, I really loved. We saw QJ moving horizontally more, which was great. You know, we'll break him down later, but I think that was a great example. Gave me hope. Whereas in the game where he did get hurt in the preseason, I was very sad that he was hurt. I was devastated that we were still throwing just flies, like setting him on a fly route and throwing it to him deep. I'm like, that is not what this man can do. Please stop. Like, this is not what we need QJ doing. Get him lateral. Get him moving horizontally. So seeing that they got more creative with him was great. So I'm hoping that that continues, but we'll see. But anyway, let's attack the offense with some questions, Ryan. So first, I just kind of let in with it. What do you think about QJ? A lot of fans, a lot of pundits are saying he might be fixed, making jokes about him all of a sudden finding his hands. Did you see enough from him to feel confident? Because when I see the ball going his way, I'm still clenching a little bit.
I mean, there was that one absolute bullet that Herbert threw when he was under pressure QJ had a guy on his back. I think it was McDuffie, and he plucked up 2 hands, flipped the ball over and caught it. It was dodgy, but it was way better than he's done before. And overall, I thought Herbert was putting the ball in better places for him. I think their synergy is growing a bit. He's putting out in front, but not too far out in front, so he can just sort of catch it like this. With that underhand technique, and I feel like he is growing as a receiver. I don't think he's made leaps and bounds. I just think his usage has been more in tune because of the pieces they've added around. I'm gonna say it right now. I feel like Joe Ortiz is sitting with his feet up right now, going, "Thank God Mike Williams retired," because I don't see how that version of the offense would have worked with Mike Williams. The fact that you can do these the stacks and bunches with Keenan and Ladd, their route running, setting up everything else, and then QJ speed bursting off of that. I don't think that worked with Mike. So what were they planning with? So I feel like it's all come together almost by accident, but at the same time, they may have even signed Keenan anyway, but who knows?
I mean, it's funny you say that, Ryan, because man, I would say it's a hot take for later, and we'll talk about how bad some of my hot takes have been lately, but I'm kind of wondering if we do have a deep playoff run, do we see Mike all of a sudden try to come out of retirement if we have a receiver or 2 injured? Only if there's an injury spot to fill. But What would you?
I
Do you think there's
I hate
no
I
way for that
hate
kind of
no
thing?
no. I think there's a chance of it. I just hate players that go in and out of retirement. Shout out Lionel
Yeah,
Messi. I feel like it's just attention milking. Like Aaron Rodgers will probably retire 3 times. Let's be honest.
yeah, oh yeah.
And then Jerry Jones will somehow retire and come back. So, they've had enough of the limelight. Shut up. But with QJ, I genuinely think he's made improvements. I don't think it's as drastic as people are making out to be. I saw this. The stat that came around this morning from like Underdog Fantasy, one of these things, which is like over his last 2 regular season games, QJ has like 21 catches for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's just like, oh, okay, like yeah, it's week 18 Raiders versus, and then like a really good week here, but that was a game where he was the guy who got the touchdowns. But at the same time, I'm just as impressed as with Keenan and Ladd. So I think he's improving, but he should also get credit for what he's done.
I love
So
it.
yeah,
I love it. Absolutely.
I've got one for you now, man. So Najee Harris and Amari Hampton, after watching them together, does Najee feel like his skill set is just the same? Made it a little bit redundant. Like, is he just like I'm just going to give him a rest, but it doesn't offer anything as a change of back? Are we missing a true change of pace back?
I think that's what cracks me up, Brian, is I had a really hot take last week, and maybe we blame it on Mekhi Becton's cold or whatever that was, or whatever he had going
Stomach
on.
bug.
Yeah, a little bit of travel diarrhea. I don't know, but he came in, and I think there's a really good chance that Foster Sorrell was brought up just as insurance against, because he was brought up from the practice squad, and then they listed him as deactive.
Inactive, yeah.
That,
very old.
Inactive. That did not make any sense. So my gut there is that Becton move kind of surprised them. They brought him up, and he was there as insurance. Maybe Miller Hines would have been brought up, but now after watching how that game went, and then subsequently how they've waived Miller Hines, terrible take. And I do question freezing cold take. That's what hot takes are for, though, man. They're those Hail Marys, and sometimes they come down with it. Most of the time, no way. The game's already been decided. But I don't know, Ryan. That is one thing that I questioned a little bit watching the game was, if Hampton is this much of a bowling ball and gets better as the game progresses, which it just seemed like it did, and Harbaugh pointed it out, saying, the line was only blocking for him, about a yard or two. And then Hampton was getting those extra 2 yards every time because the man could just move through contact. And it was really impressive. So I don't know. That's what I imagined Najee was brought here for, was that no matter what, he was going to get us those 4 yards. Now Hampton's doing that, and he's a little bit of a plus in the receiving area as well. But yeah, I don't know if we have that explosive guy that Vidal could be if they start activating him. But with the release of Miller Hines, I don't know if it's something that they're going to prioritize. What do you think about that?
I think it's a very valid point because I say, for example, even if Amarian isn't injured so much, he misses the game, but even if he's limited, then you just got Najee coming in with the same sort of strategy. I'm going to be a hammer. I'm going to take 3 yards. As you said, I'm going to hit the B gap as hard as I can. I'm not going to cut laterally. We'll see what we can get. But you can keep an offense on pace. Yeah, you can keep them ahead of the sticks. So you can make it third and manageable through just 2 bludgeoned runs. That darn creative. Just Greg Roman knows how to scheme run game, even if the players aren't executing it. Shout out Mike Devlin. Maybe one take's okay. But with Najee, he may not have got not Najee, Amarian. See, I'm mixing them up. They are the same. With Amarian, I thought he ran really nice routes and was very friendly. There was a couple that I know that JT O'Sullivan, QB School, and Kurt Warner both pointed out that Amarian did look a little lost on a couple of plays in terms of he turned the wrong way out when he was coming out. But there was other ones where he was almost creative in his route running. And the touchdown to Q on the first touchdown to Q, you should see how far Amarian Hampton makes up the ground on that wheel route to try and dive and catch that ball. That was impressive. And I feel like maybe he is that guy. We just have him on the field already. So he might be a legit 3-down back. We just got to see it.
I love it.
Yeah.
True workhorse. So then, Ryan, with building on that, you mentioned it with Mike Devlin. How do we feel about the offensive line floor and ceiling without Slater compared to last year? And this was a take that we had last week where we said we might actually be in a better position this year with our offensive line, even though we've lost Rashawn Slater, because Trey Pipkins is, such a better tackle than he is guard. And there's almost no bigger upgrade you could have on the offensive line than upgrading Trey Pipkins as a guard with Mekhi Becton. So what did you see? What did you think about the offensive line situation?
I mean, my first thing is just to give Becton absolute props to go for a stomach bug of any kind, be on the oxygen as much as he was on it. I don't think the environment's that difficult. It might have been a bit more humid, but come on, if you've played anywhere down in Florida, you could be used to that. So the fact that he was able to perform the way he did, because his pass pro was outstanding. I thought his run blocking was pretty good, but it's hard to tell when the rest of the line wasn't getting much push. But yeah, I thought his pass pro he was taking guys on line. Chris Rose, he absorbed them constantly. Ameno, he stonewalled constantly. He was standing up on his chest. He wasn't allowed to take steps backwards. Yeah, it was an impressive performance. And actually, it was a continuation of what he did in the Super Bowl. He did exactly the same thing to the Chiefs there. And it might be even like the game they just went, you know what, even if he doesn't give us that for the rest of the 15, 2 games against the Chiefs minimum, that's a fantastic addition to have. So, but with the rest of the O-line, I thought their pass protection, everyone's pointed out, was really solid. We've never seen Harbaugh take his time in the pocket like he did. Even though, by the way, his time to throw was only just a little bit higher than last season. It was like 0.07 seconds higher than last season, and it was actually quicker than some of the other games against the Chiefs. But it just showed you he could be more decisive because he didn't have to worry about anything because he was solid. Play in front of him. I mean, what else could be said about Joel? It's absolutely ridiculous that he had an outstanding rookie season at right tackle, switches to left tackle, and he looks even better. Like 41 plays, 0 pressures, and it's not even like 0 pressures where, oh yeah, you kept him alive for 3 seconds. It's not. No one got around him. No one got through him. Nobody got even close to anyone else. So yes, you are right that the floor looks high. Like it looks high. Like, but we're gonna see what we do this week when the real threat is on the other side with Trey Pipkins. And by the way, Trey Pipkins did face up to Chris Jones a few times and looked okay. And also, George Karlaftis just got paid a boatload of money for a very average pass rusher, in my opinion. But the fact that when you pay him a boatload of money means that you think you can put him in isolation and rush it. And Trey Pipkins handled him for the most part. There were a few snaps that were dodgy, but you take that with Trey. He's a replacement. That's what you understand that with him. I mean, the thing I think with how well Joel played, what did you think about his future? What do you think about Rashawn's future? Because it kind of starts falling into place a little bit.
Yeah. If we're talking about building this dominant line, I think you've had a really leveled and measured take about reminding people that when you see those stats of players, like only 30% of guys come back from this injury that Slater has, it's like, hey, well, let's remember that, how many guys actually succeed in the NFL beyond 3 years? For a lot of guys, that's just what brings them over the edge, and they weren't really going to last long in the league anyway. So when you have a guy like Rashawn Slater, who's a physical just specimen in terms of strength, athleticism, everything like that, if anyone's going to be within that, and talent as well, the talent through the roof, so anyone's going to be one of those guys that does come back, and maybe he's not the same elite guy he was before, is still a Pro Bowl caliber tackle. I would absolutely believe that Rashawn would be one of those guys that has the best chance to beat the odds. We'll see what happens, but I'm not ready to write him off yet. That said, Alt looked every bit generational, like the way he was described when we got him. Even I think you can look at how dominant he was, but it also looked like Zion played a little bit better because he really didn't have to, and I don't think he ever really felt like he had to worry about Slater, Ryan, but maybe there's something about Slater's length to where Joe Alt just had this bigger wingspan to where Zion didn't have to worry about a stunt or a guy moving in inside as much. Alt just had everything there. And I just felt like it did trickle down a little bit. So part of me is thinking, yeah, if Slater does come back, I have to imagine that move to right tackle might be the right move and let Alt be this left tackle of the future. I also like it when guys get paid for the position that typically is a little bit more money. Sometimes we see this in baseball, Ryan, where, with the Padres, because I'm a Padres fan, there was this argument a year ago about, or 2 years ago, I forget, a year ago, about this stud second baseman that we had that was really good defensively and should have been our shortstop. And that's kind of the more premier spot. And he only had 1 year left on his deal, but we had just signed this all-star shortstop that defensively is a better batter, but defensively wasn't as good as the second baseman. Well, he's already gotten paid and he got valued as a shortstop. So now why not let the second baseman who can play shortstop better in a contract year play in the more premier position? It helps everybody out. So he's able to inflate his value as much as he can. And the guy that already got paid, who cares? So the same thing works out for Rashawn. He got paid at a price that broke that broke the price ceiling. He now can go move to right tackle, and they are now starting to value that almost just as much as left tackle.
Yeah.
But it's still, he broke the price ceiling, so he shouldn't care where the Chargers decide to put him, and I don't think he will. Let Joe Alt be that left tackle of the future because he looks every bit of the part, unless something changes between now and the end of the season. I don't know. How would you feel about that moving forward and then trying to figure out the center left guard situation from there?
I mean, I said when Rashawn came out that I think he was amazing at left tackle, but he suits right tackle more. I mean, usually, you work on your pass blocker and your run blocker. And I think Rashawn has been a not so good run blocker compared to his pass blocker because he's been on an island against some rotational guys on the inside. I mean, Zion's been there quite consistently, but his play has been pretty spotty to say the least. So switching him to the right side could be more natural for him. And playing alongside Mackay there, that's a right side strong side in terms of the run right there. Not that Joel isn't. Let's put it that way. But you did make a good point with Zion. It's just occurred to me that Zion, he struggled with stunts. But if Rashawn's late, if he's staying up down on this line here, but Rashawn's Slater's coming back in because his strength is to catch and on the anchor, he sets in nice and deep. If Joel's blocking him out here, that's a lot easier of a block to see. To pair up with Bozeman next to you. You may have more space, but you also have more of an understanding of what you can do, and you don't have to worry about tripping over the guy behind you. Because if there's someone behind you and you come in here, that stunt's getting around the edge quite easily. If you're both going up and down in the same line, it's a lot easier to pass off between each other. You've got that vision. So yeah, I do see your point about that. So overall, I think I'd be very happy with Joe Alt staying at left tackle. It's just whether Rashawn's going to kick off a stink. But then again, like you said, he's been paid, so who cares?
And I would nip in the bud right now talks about him potentially moving to guard because that would take everybody in the front office in the Chargers building to admit that they kind of overvalued him. And they would be overpaying him as a guard by like $5 million a year or something like that. Like the highest guard.
Market would catch up to him, obviously, but at the same time.
Million. Yeah, it's going to take a long time, I think, for the Mark guard. Like when I say a long time, right, I mean like maybe 3 off seasons. But I think Rashawn Slater would probably be the highest paid guard through the duration of his deal, maybe until the last year. But honestly, by that time, if that's where we were at, he'd probably either get extended to lower that number or cut if that's where it had gone. If it went from, no, you can't play right tackle, we're putting you at guard. I would think it'll be a move to right tackle, and they'll give him a solid 2 seasons to show that he can stay healthy and succeed there. And at that point, if it hasn't worked out, then they might have to figure something out. I don't want to say anything extreme, but figure something out. But all right, so let's dive into the Raiders Monday night preview and leave the Chiefs behind us until we see them again. Prime time, Monday night. My brother's on the East Coast. He's complaining that it's a 10 p.m. game. It's even worse for you. So what do you think starting this off, Ryan? What do you think about the Raiders matchup?
I mean, first of all, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch this live. It kicks off at 3 a.m. So it's a horrendous game time to me. My son will probably wake me up before the game ends. So, uh, but there is a chance for the Bulls to stack a pair of wins, and dare I say it, really set the tone for the AFC West with the Chiefs facing the Eagles. And so you're saying there's a chance? And also the Broncos facing the mighty Indianapolis Colts, who look fantastic. I'm being sarcastic. They were playing the worst team in the NFL, and people need to realize that. I cannot stomach
candidate.
any more Daniel Jones chat. I can't, guys.
MVP candidate Daniel Jones. Come on.
If you take that line, you need to be banned from gambling. Vegas needs to put you on a blacklist if you take that line. Oh, 10,000 to 1 minimum. But yeah, I mean, imagine taking a two game lead in the AFC West after all these years. What would that mean?
Can't think of the last time that's happened.
I think,
yeah.
LT's peak probably.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm fired up. The Raiders, didn't look particularly strong to start. There's some issues. Their engine was sputtering a little bit on offense, and a lot of people were kind of likening it to Martin Hampton's numbers. Didn't really jump off the page either, but I mean, where they were picked was very, very, very different. And for us, we were just having so much success in the passing game. The running game just kind of felt complimentary in that it was setting the tone. Ryan, what do you think we need to look out for in terms of the Raiders offense? What should our goal be on defense?
So our goal should be just focusing on their star players. I said this before the season started, and nothing's changed based on their tape. I mean, they want to build the game around Bowers, Myers, Genty. No, but Myers might not sound like a star name, but as our friend Al from TDU said, that he's one of the most underrated players in the league, regardless of position. And he definitely should get paid. He should have been stronger in his holdout, and he should have missed this game. But those three together quite a dynamism. And Chip Kelly is starting to unroll that. I don't think it's ready yet. They were playing 12 personnel a lot, but they're not playing condensed. They're playing spread out. So I don't think they're quite understanding what they're doing just there yet. But there are vulnerabilities across that. The offensive line is not good. Like, they were tinkering, switching positions between Meredith, Jackson Powers Junction, and the other guy. I've forgotten his name, but those three in the interiors were swapping like Russian dolls, and it didn't look good. It didn't look cohesive, and they were a mess. I mean, the stat that I said to you before that I saw, I mean, most people have probably seen this, that Genty had 38 yards on 19 carries. Terrible, right? He had 44 yards after contact. It's just when you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, so that means he had -6 yards within the scheme. Before, which is before contact, which that's outstandingly bad. And it wasn't just that; their pass blocking was pretty horrendous. Geno Smith's used to playing with terrible O lines. Shout out Seattle. But 37.5% pressure rate is just not sustainable, and that's against a Pats front that is still developing. They have 2.5 good players along that line, and the other edge literally cannot get any pressure at all. So that's not a good line to give that up to. So there are definitely vulnerabilities there. Now, our pass rush has been not great, but we could. That's a challenge for us, and I feel like a lot of people have said it, but that's where you've got to see a bit more push from Minter. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about their wide receivers in particular? Like, because their tight ends have got a bit more press, but their wide receivers outside of Myers, like, they're all young, like, and they're all vertical attacking. Do you think Minter's defense is capable of, holding them at bay?
Well, it's kind of scary, right? Because it's what we struggled with this week. There were just a couple deep balls that got by us. And if you're taking your time getting to the quarterback, which we kind of did, then you're going to be vulnerable to that if you're not locking it down in that defensive backfield. Yeah, you got a guy like Trey Tucker. Is it Trey Tucker?
Yeah, Trey Tucker, and then
Trey Tucker.
Yeah, Thornton, the other guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, Myers is solid. Trey Tucker has had some success as a deep threat, and you just what you don't want to see in a game like this that you're confident you should be able to win is those guys succeeding in their role and flashing the way that they have flashed before, especially when it is against something that you're currently showing a vulnerability in, which we have. So I don't want to see Trey Turner or Trey Tucker go for 150 yards and a tutty or two, and Jacoby Myers to have his breakout. This is why you need to pay me type game. So we'll see. I feel like eventually karma's going to bite me, and Michael Myers is going to finally break out, and it's going to be against the Chargers. Hopefully that's not this week. But I'm surprised they're not getting those two on the field more together. That's the weirdest thing.
That was
I
a
do
big
still
surprise. Yeah, Myers outsnapped even before Bauer's injury. He was outsnapping him like 3-2, like even 2-1 at times. That is surprising. I know Bowers isn't the best blocker, but he's your best receiver. Get him on the field, man. They did spread him out wide, and that's going to be a matchup we're going to look out for. For example, you don't want Targ's a fantastic cover corner, but you just don't want him being boxed out by a big player like that. So it's something I feel like Chip's going to try. So,
and for those that didn't follow Mayer a lot last year, it's very weird that you had a guy that was fighting to get more snaps, fighting to get a role when Bowers really took over. And now all of a sudden, for him to get kind of featured like that was very odd. So that's something for us to keep an eye on. Will they start deploying more two tight end sets? Because from the get-go, it seemed like that's what they were going to be doing, just based on their personnel. Like that just made all the sense in the world. And then knowing how, Will Dissly and Noah Fant had worked together in the past, that's kind of what you guys have here. So go ahead and do it. But yeah, it was strange. But so let's go ahead. We'll move it to the defense or for the Raiders defense. How do you think the Chargers are going to attack them, and what is there to exploit on that side of the ball?
I mean, I've said before that their secondary is one of the worst in the league, and nothing's changed my mind. I mean, the Patriots receiver group and Drake May were pretty terrible. I have to say they look completely out of sync. Yet the Patriots still had to respect the hell out of them in order to have. The Raiders had to respect the hell out of them to get any kind of success. Their safeties were okay in coverage, but they played 90% zone and played cover one man in 2%. They had 4 times the amount of cover zero than they did cover one man, which is just bananas. I mean, I get it, but because you've got Eric Stokes and Kubidu Kelly, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. They got some names in that, but they're not even playing like Darian Porter. Like they've got real faith. They put their outside corners on 100% of all of their snaps, and between them they had 14 tackles. Breaking news: you do not want your corners having 14 tackles. So you're not in. At least you're in cover 2 trap. And overall, I respect Patrick Graham. I think they've got underrated players like Adam Butler. But when you've got Devin White as your star linebacker and he's flying around over aggressive, I would be really disappointed if Roman doesn't pull these guys apart, because they have no one who can cover any one of our 3 wide receivers. So I and that's not even including the run game. It's not including the play action game. It's not including the tight ends. Not including Herbert himself, his legs as a weapon. I just think we've got to just play our game. Don't go too hot, too cold, and we'll beat them by 2 scores. I'm not worried. I'm being honest.
I love it. Well, let's go ahead and we'll dive into who you're looking to challenge this week, Ryan. Who are going to be the guys that we need to step up and really put on a good game, good performance to do what this team needs to do to get this dub?
So, I mean, my first one is, we've talked about it a little bit, but with the deep balls, Geno Smith vertical play, it's got to be Gilman and Molden. Like the pair of them, they weren't asked to do a lot against the Chiefs. They will be asked to do a lot more in this. They attack Geno doesn't throw the deep seams, but they attack the seams to go in and out off of them. And they've got to cover better. That mistake late in the game, that could kill a lesser team, a less resilient team. So I'm going to look for them to take a step up in terms of their coverage skills.
I like it.
What about you?
Dude, I'm calling it audible because we like have a little script out here, and I might throw him back in later on. But now that I'm thinking about it, and we're talking about this game, Ryan, my challenge is going to be to Keenan Allen. And it's not because I don't think he's going to rise to the occasion, but this is a rivalry week. And I know the Chiefs have been a bigger rival lately, but there is something about the Raider week with the vets and keeping that alive. And you saw Keenan coming off the field last week talking about, bring on the Raiders, dropped a couple of explicitives. He looked hyped, man. And I want to see Keenan and Derwin too, because you saw him on the mic'd up, bringing that energy. I want to see Keenan infect this young wide receiver core with just that same passion, that borderline righteous anger when they're playing the Raiders, to not just beat them, but dominate them. So I want Keenan to be that leader, go out and have himself one hell of a game, and be that vet that LT used to be, where he was like, man, he fundamentally, in his blood, hated the Las Vegas Raiders back down the Oakland. So bring that energy, Keenan, and pass it on and keep it going so it lives on for future generations. This is where you get to lead that young wide receiver core. That's what I'm looking for. Give me another. Yeah. Who's somebody that you're looking to challenge?
I'm just thinking back to the first matchup last year. Was that the fight last year? Yeah. The first matchup last year. Yeah. I want guys to remember that. That wasn't just the Jerry Tillery, because that was the year before, right? But this was something else. They were targeting such pieces of work, aren't they? FDR all day, right? Oh, I'm also going to call an audible. I had a nice defensive player as well, but we've got two. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I want Omarion to pound the rock down. I want him to smack Devin White so many times that he thinks about coming downhill from now on. He looks at that retirement bench and thinks it's looking awful comfortable. I want to see if you're gonna dance in the backfield too often, you're not that guy. So he did it once against the Chiefs. He's not going to do it against the Raiders. He's going to smack. And also, we know he's not going to go out of bounds. So he's going to put his face in a blender for this team, and I want to see it. I want to see some angry runs. Yeah, I want to see him on Good Morning Football, that angry run segment, if they still do that. I haven't watched it in years. And yeah, just hammer. I want to see it. What about you, Carl? You got any more?
Because that's such a big matchup between Gianti and Hampton that we didn't even talk about or really discuss. We talked about people comparing them last week, but what an opportunity for Hampton and for Joe Ortiz, right? When you hit on a player that was drafted way after another premier player was drafted, how great do you look? It means you've built a great team that's in front of him, supporting him, and that you made the right call on that guy in particular. So it's not going to close the book on what running back is better than which by any means, but it is just such a rad statement when you can have a running back come in that you drafted that far back after this other guy who's been labeled as generational. They're saying that Pete Carroll's building the whole offense around him and all that jazz. I'm with you, man. Some angry runs would be insane in that regard. And to just really, really shut down Gianti and then have Hampton take off would be incredible, man. Building on that, I'm going to go ahead and throw out my next challenge, and it's going to be a combination because of my audible from last time. But I'm going to challenge the offensive line, specifically Zahn and Bradley. We need them to pave the way for your guy. We need them to be more dominant in run blocking. Chris Jones had his way with them in the interior when they were going against the run. They did great. They were very serviceable in pass pro, but against the run, they weren't getting any push. The offensive line as a whole wasn't getting much push. I'm not concerned yet because the Chiefs' defense was that strong. We saw them shut down the best offensive line and the best running back last year in the Super Bowl, and we had almost a similar line there. So there's no reason to get concerned yet. Where we should be concerned, Ryan, is if we go out against a team we see as an inferior defense, and then they can't get pushed. If we leave this game without some of those angry runs that are provided by our offensive line creating holes, then I start getting a little worried. And building on that, I also want to see Trey Pipkins do well, because not just in the running game, I don't have expectations for him there, to be blatantly honest. I hope that we get tight end help to help him win some double team blocks or post up on somebody, whatever they have to do. But I just want him to contain Max Crosby. He had, I think, under a 95% PFF pass block efficiency rating last week, or right around that 95 mark. Normally you want to see your tackles at 97.5, 97. And he dipped quite a bit. And yeah, he took on Chris Jones a few times. He did take on some talented pass rushers, but that mark isn't going to hit it throughout the year. So anything just nudging above that number against an elite pass rusher would be huge. Or if he can get to that 97 mark against Max, I'll be thrilled, because we know he's not going to go against Alt. So those are my guys that I'm really going to be looking at. Is there anybody else that you want to shout out before we wrap it up and close this thing off?
I mean, I'll just add in Becton right there, because if those guys can blow the Raiders' interior D-line off the ball and we can establish the run, like, it's not just important for one game, it's over the course of the next 4 or 5 games, that stretch, because they're going to think there is that possibility, because they could key in on our passing, they could drop 8 and just rush 3 and see what we could do from that. I mean, as the Raiders traded for Thomas Booker, like, from the Eagles, like, a few weeks ago. And I did not realize, I just looked it up. He had 42 snaps in their opener. That's saying they had literally no DT2 after Adam Butler, who I think is a really good player, really fundamentally sound, strong player. He's not a DT1 anyway. So you three together have to be the tip of the spear, and we really have to get some push up front there. I don't think there's any room for negotiation on that kind of established performance.
Well, you had a really great take earlier, Ryan, where maybe we don't need the explosive change of pace running back, because we have a running back that can change gears and has that explosive element to his game. So maybe a good sign of success for this team and what it can do down the stretch would be, hey, week 1, he showed us he could be Najee. Maybe week 2, he shows us he can be something different, break off an explosive or two and give us a lot of hope in that regard. That would be really neat. I'd love to see him rip off a couple 15+ yarders, and the opportunity is there. So the guys have to capitalize on it on prime time. So I think that's going to wrap us up, man. Week 1 is over. It's behind us. The Chargers are 1-0 after knocking off the Chiefs, and now we are setting our eyes to Monday Night Football. It's beautiful, man. I'm fired up, Ryan. Anything you want to close on, or are we just going to say goodbye and we'll see you guys next week?
Just nobody message me with the score before halftime or nothing like that. My phone will be on Do Not Disturb. I will have all the blinds shut just in case someone walks past the window holding the newspaper. I'm joking. Nobody does that. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing if we can get to a point where we're heading into the Broncos game 2-0 and looking to take control of the AFC West.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, be sure to visit us at stormcloud.blog to carry on the conversation over there as well. Ryan's going to be dropping an article where he breaks down last week with some clips. And I think are you doing the Raiders as well as a preview artical, or just are we doing
No. Just I've got a lot to write about what Greg Roman did. So yeah, it's beautiful. Another long one. What a surprise!
Surprise. So be sure to tune in on that, guys. Join in on the conversation. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week when hopefully the Bolts are 2-0. See you later. Bolt up.
All up.
Oh, nope. What do I press?
It's still rolling, but yeah.
Oh, I know.